right. Hey, everybody. This is Steve Drovashevsky. Welcome to Motivational Mindset. I am here today with Jen Grosso. I've known Jen for a long time. Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm happy to have you on. This is episode 1. So we're actually just talking about that. It's, first episode's anything, could be a little rough, could be whatever, but we're going to make it work and have fun with it. And, Jen has a great story. I mean, you ran, climb coaching for a long time, and now you have a new you kind of rebranded and, yep. So, let's talk about it. I mean, tell me a little bit about your journey, your story. And, you're just such an inspiration because you've done, you were an attorney. I don't want to take too much of your story, but I just want to give you kind of like you were an attorney and then just decided to change careers. I mean, that's got to be incredibly difficult to kind of walk away and then go a completely different direction. But I'm going to let you tell that story. So tell me, tell me a little bit about, what started this whole process and.
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you so much. I'm so honored actually to be your first guest and that you thought of me. And I know that this might be the first episode of this particular podcast, but you are really a veteran to broadcasting and I just appreciate it so much. You're so amazing. So, and like you said, I've always felt so comfortable speaking with you that I'm sure this is going to be amazing. So I'm so happy to be here.
Podcast number 1 either goes really, really good or really, really bad. So we'll figure.
This is going to be, so if we're getting to that mindset, you get what you expect, right? So I have full expectation that this is going to be an amazing episode. So yes, I am currently the founder and CEO of the Boldfire Institute. And my journey really started way back when. Even it actually started in college, which I didn't realize at the time. It's so funny when you look back and you get that view of your life and you go, wow, this like 360,000 foot view. You're like, wow, I can see how all the pieces fit together. And so from college, I was really excited to go to law school, and it had been a long-term dream. And certainly a dream that was fed by others because they said that I would be so great at it. And I was top performing student. I became the managing editor of the New Jersey Constitutional Law Journal. I did all of the things, ticked off all of the boxes. I went on to clerk for the New Jersey Supreme Court. And then I went into big law. I represented big banks and pharmaceutical companies, and I was in litigation, and I was really, really good at it. And yet, when I walked in the door the very first day to the firm, within, I would say probably minutes, I knew it was not where I was going to be. I knew right away. And that was more of an intuition and a feeling that this might not be where I'm supposed to be. But I was supposed to be there. This is my mindset now. I was supposed to be there. It was a critical part of my path. And there was a lot of time and money invested in going into being a lawyer. And yet I knew really quickly that while I was great at it, I still wasn't optimized. I still wasn't using like my gifts to the fullest expression that they would be. And I would say in law and litigation, it's about tearing things down. And I knew I had to be on the side of building things up. Yeah. And that's really where I started diving into entrepreneurship. And my first opportunity pulled in while I was still an attorney, I became a silent partner in a real estate brokerage. And so I was on the inside of the business, and that got me in that zone. And then I got an opportunity to be a professor. And so I went down the teaching zone. And I also, while at that time, I got the opportunity to start mentoring and creating a mentoring program, which is essentially a coaching program inside my law firm. And I got to spearhead that. And when it came time to say, wow, this does not fit me, I can't do this for a second more, I decided to bet on me and what I could do. And I did. I gave up. I was on track to be a partner. I was ranked very high. I was a lucrative job. there was a tremendous amount about it that still people thought I was crazy for a decade that I walked away from that. And there were times where I thought maybe I was crazy, but there was a part inside of me. I've been a confident person in a lot of ways. I was absolutely terrified. And yet I was more terrified about who I would become selling myself short than I was about taking that leap. I had to take the leap and bet on me that no matter what happened, I would make it right. And then my journey went from there. And I started my coaching company, Climb Coaching. I'll just tell you quickly, it started helping lawyers leave the law because that's where I was at.
Okay.
Great thing.
That was your mindset at the time, right?
Right. And then I helped
other people feeling this way.
Exactly. And then I moved on to helping other people leave their careers. Then people said, hey, you've owned these other businesses. And I jumped into helping other business owners, and I started really doing a lot of business coaching and consulting. And then the path goes on from there. I owned a gym for a while, which really helped me dive even more the connection between mindset and fitness and business. Mm-hmm. And now I have really moved into the space where I'm doing high performance coaching. I'm working with people who are really keyed in on becoming the absolute optimal best that they can be, the best performer that they can be. And part of that, a huge part of that, is mastering your mind. You need to master your mind. You need to master your business. You need to master your body if you want to reach something that I call full-bodied success. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what we do here at Boldfire.
Hey, I love it. I love it. And because I'm, in that space is like, I'm a big mind, body, spirit person. I think they all have to kind of line up for someone to truly be successful. It's not all about money. I mean, you need money, but you have to define what your individual goals are.
Yes.
What's going to make you happy as a person? And then figure out that balance. Right. And it sounds like that's kind of the space, and taking people who are already high performers and kind of helping them, and also taking people who feel they could perform a lot better and moving them into a better space. Right. And, so I love the journey. I mean, it had to be incredibly difficult for you to kind of say at times. I mean, you had to experience that self-doubt, right? That, and you talked a little bit about that. Is this right? Is this the right thing? Am I really doing something crazy here? Walking away from, being a lawyer isn't something you do in like a weekend.
No, no. It was really, even now going back and observing my mindset at that time, it was a daily battle. I had that concept of sunk costs. Look at all this time, right? And we're talking about years. At that point, I had invested well over 6 figures in my education, even with grants and scholarships. I had invested a tremendous amount of time. I had been a lawyer for, a number of, so between like being a lawyer and the education part, when I started really jumping into it, I had already been in about a decade of really hard work and building connections in a particular area. And I had to go, it wasn't starting from bottom, but I'll tell you, it felt like that. It felt like going back and starting from square one. And was I up for that task? And and I will tell you, I work with my clients all the time. I've learned a lot about neuroscience, how our brain works, how our thoughts come in. It's normal. Our body and our brain is going to generate a lot of thoughts that are going to be like, you're insane. Why are you doing this? You're going to be poor. You are going to have no money. What if you're homeless? Yeah. What if you won't be able to keep the lights on? Which, then I was a lawyer and I can argue that, like, duh, you'll be able to keep the lights on. You trust yourself. You'll find a job. You're scrappy. You can do it. But you
lawyered yourself.
I did. I was constantly lawyering myself. So inside some of my programs and some of the consulting work that I do with clients, I talk to them about like harnessing their inner lawyer. When you start spiraling downward with the negative thoughts that are in self-doubt and making you worry what others are going to think, take a pause and take a moment. If you had to be the lawyer who was arguing for your best self, for this best move that you could make, what would you be arguing? How would you challenge those thoughts about whether or not they're really real? Because half the time we think really stupid crap.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of a psychological approach, right? Like, where are you going to challenge the cognitive dissonance or the cognitive delusions, right, that we might have? Sure. Or those concepts, I mean, basically what that's going into is a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? You're kind of you're doing that to yourself and kind of saying you're challenging these dysfunctional beliefs or these beliefs that you can't make it, or and kind of putting it in perspective for yourself and changing the imbalance, right? The imbalance in your thinking.
Right. It's recognizing that a belief is just a thought that's been repeated. It's not a fact. Not necessarily true.
Unfortunately, these days, a lot of times people are like, I said it, so it's true. No, or I read it on the internet, so it's true. We're not going to go way into that. World.
Right. But that is, I mean, there's a little bit of, I think that when you realize that you're going to take a big step, you're going to make a big transition, you're going to bet on yourself to make some sort of big transformation or change.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about, just do it, or just have the grit to do it, or just, and I think that that's true to a degree, but recognizing that normal human beings are going to have, even confident, normally courageous people who have an adventurous spirit, they're going to have those little twinges that they even feel, like not only in their thoughts, but they also feel them very deeply in their body. And then how do you move past those? And how do you give yourself the grace to go, okay, all right, even if I took a pause for a little longer than I wanted to, how do I still step into this version of me that I can see when I don't have a guarantee that it's going to work out the way I think it should?
And you brought up a great point, because, I always say everybody experiences self-doubt. Everybody has insecurities. Everybody, it depends on what they are. Even the most confident people are outwardly apparent, I will say, confident people have self-doubt. They just cover it very, very well, and sometimes overcompensate in appearing overconfident, overconfident in what they do. But you're not with someone 24 hours a day. You don't know what they experience. You're not with them when they're in their house at night by themselves trying to figure out, well, crap, what did I do? And that's the stuff everybody has to figure out how to get through and get past. And, in any kind of high performance, I know Fortune 500 executives and hospital executives and all kinds of people that come out and they're so good at what they do and they're so on the money. But I know for a fact that when that's over, when that speech or whatever it is they just got done doing is over, they go back and they rethink themselves, and they go back and they say, hey, did I make a misstep here? How was it? Was it good? They ask other people, how was I? And that stuff, like I said, it's that doubt that sometimes we have in ourselves, and everybody has it. Doesn't matter who you are. I'm sure Elon Musk doubts himself at times. I'm sure Richard Branson doubts himself at times.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about a lot of them, and I want to say how many years ago? Years ago, I had somebody say, "Can you give us a talk on imposter syndrome?" And I was like, maybe. Let me just give you a minute. Let me give it a minute. Let me look at it. And I was like, oh, this is what my clients are experiencing. And I've worked with Broadway actresses. I've worked with CEOs. I've worked with, very high level, 8 and 9 figure, entrepreneurs that are running these incredible businesses. And one of the things I started to notice was, wow, it doesn't matter how much outward success you've achieved. You can still have this self-doubt. And what started coming up was that concept of the imposter syndrome, that no matter what your resume says and all these credentials and the experience that you have, that you could feel this way. And when I went in to investigate, like giving that speech and giving that talk, that's when I learned that some of the people that are at the names that we know at the very top, they've admitted, they've been generous enough to admit that it plagues them. I remember Tom Hanks in an interview talked about how he's expecting people to come back and revoke his his Oscars. And Maya Angelou, how many New York Times bestsellers has she written? She has said, I'm waiting for the day when they come back and say, yeah, it was all a mistake. This was an accident and none of this is worth anything. And Serena Williams, really? You doubt yourself? What is that? And as I kept bringing this, and then I've seen it, even I've coached, the heads of very large law firms. And what they will tell you on the inside is that they do experience it. And so what I started to do was work with my clients a number of years ago is to not see that. Actually, it's our perception, how we reframe and shift that. It's to say, oh, wow, it's creeping up. What this tells me is I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for me to go, oh, I'm right on time. I'm feeling doubt. I'm ready to expand to my next level. If you can look at it as those little twinges of doubt, they're only a problem if you let them hold you back.
Yeah. It's your reaction. It's your reaction to it that is the issue, not the actual feeling itself. Right. So the feeling happens, you're going to have it. And I kind of think, I'm on the lines of like, you know what, maybe because you have these feelings is the reason that you are the success you are.
Yes.
Because it drives you to push your craft, right? Whatever your craft is, right? So can you just so people know, you and I both know, but, in case people don't know, what is imposter syndrome? What does that mean?
So imposter syndrome, it kind of falls under the confidence umbrella, and it's not really a syndrome. It's not a disease. It's not an illness.
No, it's not actually listed in the DSM or anything like that.
It's not, but it's very popular. There's a lot of articles, a lot of speeches, and a lot of people talk about it. And it's an overwhelming feeling that you have made it to this point in your career or whatever it is. Maybe it's, in your sport or whatever your zone of genius is, yet you're really not a genius, that it happened by accident, that you're really a fraud, and that people are going to find you out any day now. Mm-hmm. And it's very common. Even Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz is the head. He's the founder and CEO of Starbucks. Yeah. I loved when he said that I don't care what CEO who they are. I don't care what business. It would include Elon Musk, who, by the way, has admitted feeling imposter syndrome as well.
Yeah.
Right. Crazy. And crazy. It's crazy to think of, except when you go, you know what? It's just normal. It's normal to feel that. And he said every single CEO walks into that position feeling like, oh, crap, I'm not prepared for this. And the truth is, you aren't. You're like, every next level of you is being built at that moment. And it's every next book it depends on you putting in the work at that time. It's yes, you can get through it, and reminding yourself. So I go through when I have people who are really finding that to be a sticking point and a challenge, right? Where they can't move forward. They're afraid to maybe apply for the position that people are encouraging them to apply to, because it feels like too far out of their identity of who they think they are. Yep. Then how do we go about that? And I, one tip I could offer your viewers, if you're someone who you consider yourself a high achiever, you see a big vision for yourself, I would start keeping, I call them a brag book, or, some sort of a file that it keeps. Sometimes we need to be reminded of our greatness. We need to look back and go, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at what I did. Look at what I've accomplished. We need to be reminded of the credentials that we have, the things that we've done. And I recommend people look at that on a regular basis. And it's not just to like fluff up your ego. It's to, quiet down that part of your brain that's like your inner jerk, your inner critic. Like, yo, you got to shut up. Have you seen what I did?
Yeah.
And then, some people also say, yeah, but if you've never done it before, how can you rely on that past success? Well, it's borrowed confidence, right? We talked about, I do think people can be overconfident.
Oh yeah. I've seen that too.
Right. There's all different kinds of confidence, and borrowed confidence is a concept that I love, that I talk to my clients about. And it's reminding yourself, not that you have the competence in the area that you're moving into that's new, but you trust yourself. Mm-hmm. That you always figure it out.
Yeah.
I may not have the competence yet, but I have the confidence in myself that I will do what's necessary to learn, to fill those gaps, to get the help that I need, and to just figure it out. Like if it's going sideways, I trust myself to keep going until I get to that mastery level. So, so you don't need to be, to have full competence to have genuine, authentic confidence. It's just you can harness that first level. I trust myself to figure it out.
Yeah.
I trust myself that I won't completely bomb. And if I make a mistake, it won't kill me.